Hello, everyone. Welcome again in another of Brain Aura session, where we bring you insightful details about how to do your PhD research and different aspects of it really effective. So before we begin with our today's speaker, I would like to give a brief introduction about Brain Aura. We are a small team of experts from various academic and industrial backgrounds. Our services are cohesively designed for young PhD grads, academicians, researchers, and entrepreneurs. We provide services ranging from thesis writing support, research support, data analysis, skill development, and much more. Visit our website, www.brainaura.com, to know more about us. So, as we mentioned earlier, we have a new speaker today who will be talking about scientific research methodology and writing. So, which is one of the most crucial aspects when a person is doing their PhD. And today we have Dr. Jyotirmoi Aich. So she is a biologist with 15 years of research and 6 years of teaching experience. She is working as an assistant professor in School of Biotechnology and Bioinformatics in D.Y. Patil, deemed to be University, Navi Mumbai. She received the prestigious DBT Research Associateship for her postdoctorate. Her original research work on asthma and cancer is attributed with numerous high impact factor publications, citations with global recognition. She has demonstrated record of scientific achievements through consistent publication record in high impact factor journals such as Nature Communications, OncoTarget, Annals of Oncology, PNAS, and many more. Recently, she is featured as She Heroes in STEM, which is an initiative by Savitri Bai Phule Pune University to encourage more and more women in STEM science. So welcome, Dr. Jyoti, and I hope we had a great session. How are you today?
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me on this platform so that I can share some of my views. Yeah, definitely. I'm good. Thank you so much.
So as we have said, and I'm sure you are completely aware about the Brain Aura services. So we always try to interact with a lot of PhD grads and try to understand what their requirements are, the kind of questions they have, and how Brain Aura can help. So what we generally do, we collate a lot of different aspects of the questions, and then here you are. So we will be asking one by one the common questions that our students have been asking. So I'll start with one of the most basic questions. What is research methodology and why is it important?
Yes. So again, starting with this Q&A session, talking about this research methodology. Now, I know this word has been very much famous among all the researchers and everything. So it is very pertinent to understand that what exactly is the meaning of this and how much it is relevant for research. Now, in a simple terms, I should say the study of conducting research is research methodology. So research methodology is a way to systematically solve the research problem. Now, since we have coined this term research, let's have a quick snapshot about this research. What exactly is this research? I've got a very simple definition. Research is an organized and it's in a systematic way of finding answers to the questions. So mark these words, it has to be organized, it has to be systematic, and the entire flow through in the entire pathway is basically called as a research methodology. So it may be understood as a science of studying how research is done scientifically. Now, coming to the importance part, guys, like how exactly this research methodology is important. It is necessary for a researcher to design a methodology for the problem chosen. Now, one should note that even if the method considered in two problems are same, the methodology may be different. So whenever we plan of any research process, any research hypothesis, we need to understand that what would be the research methodology so that we can stick to it, we can implement some of the important experiments related to it, and we can get a conclusion about it. Okay, that's what I think is research methodology and its importance.
And what do you think are the types of research methodology that is being used these days?
Yes. So when we talk about the different types of research methodology, now, if I'm going to classify the different kinds of research that is happening throughout the world, I can have two main criteria or two main, classification. So one would be called as a quantitative research. and the other one would be qualitative research. Now, these two terms, as the name it is going to say, suggest, like one is quantitative, that means that it is going to involve some research in which you can measure something, you can quantitate something, and some kind of a the other one would be a qualitative research, which is talking about your understanding the quality of a research, how it is happening. So whatever research has been happening, I can classify them into two different main categories. But apart from that, we have some other different type of research methodology as well. For example, descriptive research. We do have analytical research, that is experiments that we conduct in a normal laboratory. Applied research. Now, there are two, again, different classification about research. We can classify, one is called as a basic research, one is an applied research. Now, basic research is something when you try to understand what exactly how a cell is working, or what are the different proteins, or like how the DNA has been, identified. But when you're going to take up this knowledge and you want to, go for some vaccine production or any kind of a technological thing or applied thing, it would be called as an applied research. So that's again one of the important classification of a research methodology. Apart from that, we have fundamental research, we do have an exploratory research, again we have a conclusive research. So definitely we do have a different, because based upon the different kinds of research that people do across the world, we can classify all the researches in any one of these categories. That is the types of research methodology.
Okay, so since there's a lot of information available while doing the research, so what do you think one should consider when they are going about the research process?
Yes, that's again one of the very important questions that you have asked, like how to understand or how to, take up the important points, because this is for a mature people when they're about to start their research. But the first and the important thing that I feel in a research methodology is identifying the problem. That what exactly is the problem that you guys are going to work upon. Because unless and until if your research problem is not going to be clearly defined, you can go haywire in the research process. So I feel the first important hurdle that you're supposed to crossing is that it's basically identifying the research problem. Once you have identified the research problem, I feel that the other important criteria that you should go is the reviewing of the literature. Because up till now, we know that there has been so many different kind of research that is happening, across the entire world, on a particular topic. So you need to be an expert in your field. Just need to know about that, what has been done, what were the limitations, what you can do to overcome the limitation, and how you can contribute some novel dimension into your problem. So I feel that these two are the most important thing while you should, go about your research process.
Okay. And what do you think one faces as challenges while they are working on the research methodology?
Okay. Yes. Again, that's research. When I think about research, is nothing. I can say it as a challenge. Okay. Research can be called as a challenge. Now, there are n number of challenges in research, right from the design, okay, how you are designing your experiment, how you are performing your sampling. We are talking about the methods of the data collection, experimentation, data analysis, and the inferences, and also funding is a big challenge, which is followed by publication. But all these challenges, what I feel is that it can be overcome. Now, if your study design and your methodology opted is going to be scientifically sound. So in the start of the career, if you are spending some time on designing a research problem, or you are spending some time in making the methodology to be perfect, that's perfectly fine, because it should be very clear, it should be very crystal clear, so that later on there should not be no confusion. So at this particular moment, I would like to cite a quote from Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein in the year 1938 said, like, formulation of a research problem is far more essential than its solution. So I would repeat that formulation of a research problem is far, far, far more essential than its solution. Because if that thing is not going to be clear, then it would be a problem. So keep working on defining the research problem till you are clear in your mind that what is the nature of the problem. the question that you're addressing. Unless this is clear, your research gets nowhere. So make sure that, your research problem is clear. Your research methodology, whatever you have planned, is clear. And then, start on your research process. And then way the challenges are going to become, you would be able to overcome because of your smart study design, methodology.
Yeah, I think you already answered the kind of next question, like, because
Yes.
there's so much information which is available when it comes to research. So, what generally happens, like the person would have started the research with one topic, but once they start doing the process, start studying more into it, so they might digress. So that, I think, tends to be one of the very crucial aspect, like just, how to be focused on the subject. Or
yes.
that's
That's the next question, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that was the next question, but yeah, I mean, the insight is pretty helpful. So that's one of the common problems the students come across. So, so the next question after this, which is quite, again, crucial, because once the research is done, so how to manage the data and information that has been collected over the period of time?
Yes, that's again one of, again, I completely understand, because I'm saying all the parameters to be important.
Yeah.
This again is,
Yeah.
this again seems to be much more pertinent, definitely. Now, one must be really aware of the important data analysis tool. Now, it is important, see, initially it is important to go through your research problem, your methodology. Now you have implemented all the experiments, you have collected a lot of data. Now it is important to understand that what kind of a data analysis tool we do have. Now, it is highly recommended to undergo, if it is possible, to undergo a hands-on training workshop in understanding these tools. Like, for example, if I'm going to pick up some of the softwares, like I do have a GraphPad, or we do have a SPSS softwares that is going to handle your data, and that is going to give more significant meaning to the data. And also, when the researcher is going to do a particular research process, they should be knowing that what exactly is the data and what is the study design. Right? Now, if these things are going to be clear, accordingly, one can apply statistics to it and reach to proper results. And we know that these days, or it has been, it's been important since so many times, that statistics do play an important role. Because unless and until if your data is not going to be significant, you won't be able to go to the next step. So it's important to understand that what all tools and everything is there. So whatever data has been generated, whatever information has been generated, you need to scrutinize those results through these data analysis softwares. You need to understand that what exactly is the significance, and then, based upon that, you can accordingly go for your conclusion, discussion of your results. So these things definitely do play an important role.
Yeah. So that's true, because this was the another step where we look for, like, how to, streamline the information, how to implement it while writing a research paper around it. So another question that always comes up. So whenever somebody is preparing a literature review, so because the literature review, what the challenge they come into it, how to implement the research that they have collected over the period of time, how to implement it in the literature review.
Okay. Yeah, literature review again. Literature review, because it actually, when the term literature review, I feel that this is important in different stages of a research process. Now, somebody can say, some people used to say that no, it is important in the first stage. I strongly disagree. For example, when you're supposed to, like, I'm just going to talk about some of the rules that are important while implementing the research in the literature review. The first one is that we need to define a particular topic, and definitely we need to understand that what the audience would be, right? According to that, your entire literature review would be drafted. Now we have to search and research the literature right from the time the idea has been conception of that particular idea. You need to collect the papers from that particular time till the time you are collecting all the researches. While doing the literature search, you need to take proper notes and everything, and you need to decide that what kind of a review you wish to write. Then you need to keep the review focused, but make it of a broad interest. So coming on to this literature review, as I was saying, that definitely it plays an important role while deciding your research problem. So that is the first stage. Now, during the PhD or during any kind of a research, it is always pertinent to make yourself clearly aware that what is happening in your field. right? So that is the in between the period. And later on in the third stage, when I should look upon this, it's that when we are going to compile all our data or compile all the review, that time also you need to look out at what exactly is a research review, so that based upon the literature knowledge, you would be able to contradict your results, you would be able to provide justification to your results. So it is always important to stay focused, because again, I understand in a research methodology, it's so easy to get diverted, right? But you need to be focused, you need to stay focused on your particular thing, not to go haywire, anywhere, and you do not need to change the direction, which otherwise, it could result into a problem. So I feel that you need to be critical and consistent. That is the word. These are the key words that which we should expect in a research scholar.
Yeah, that's true. So another thing which generally we have observed is like, because since research is not only a mental process, it's also kind of an emotional process where a person tends to get involved emotionally in their work while trying to figure out the right information. So there are certain scenarios where people end up making personal inferences rather than being objective about it, just the analyzing the research. So how to avoid that? Like the person shouldn't make their own personal judgments, but take the exact research, and then accordingly they should, objectively they should work around it.
Yeah. So again, as you have correctly said, a research is definitely, it has got some emotional component also attached to that, because when a person with so much of hard work and determination puts up an experiment, definitely we feel that okay, and we do make a hypothesis before putting one experiment. We do feel that okay, now this should be coming, because that always has to be an ideal, that you need to have a hypothesis in mind. It cannot happen that you do not have any hypothesis and you're putting your experiments randomly. That definitely is not there. So you have a hypothesis in your mind, you put up the experiments. But yes, I even tell to my students that whenever the results are going to come, so I said to my students also that be sure that technically your experiments is perfectly fine, right? That whatever experiments you have got, those are error free, and you repeat your experiments at least 3 times, because biologically I cannot conclude something from one time experiment. I need to get a technical replicate, I need to have a biological replicate. If the experiment is repeated almost like 3 times and I'm getting the same phenomenon biologically, so I need to make up my mind that this is something happening biologically in the cell, and whatever my hypothesis I have given, that's not fitting into that. So I should not be deliberately be fitting my hypothesis into the results that I'm getting. So again, this is one of the very important aspects. The personal interference, the personal judgment, and the biased nature should be kept aside. I feel that. I agree, because even I have gone through this particular process when I taken from my seniors, my guide, that staying focused on producing authentic results, that should be the criteria, rather than the novel results. This can be a driven force to stay object oriented all the while. So we have to be like objective oriented. Whatever is our objective, we have to at least we need to be close to that. I understand, but again, this happen. This is a thing that is going to happen while a person is going to be involved, and then keeping mentally stable. That's again plays an important role while making this inferences from the experiments.
True. Well, that's truly said. And another one of the common questions that we come across. So nowadays we have like online sources also to do their research, and they're still offline methods. So what do you suggest are the excellent sources for researching the subject on online and offline platforms?
So I know because of this pandemic, we all had gone to an online mode, right? So yes, now whenever, in fact, there's a new topic coming up, and even I want to get some new knowledge about it, definitely the Google plays an important role. But apart from the Google, if it is scientific, then I would prefer the Pubmed. Okay, the Pubmed is a website where you have a lot of publications, scientific authenticated publications are being cited over there. Again, when we put up in the Google takes up, like for example, there's a sentence that I want to put up. I can easily put up in a Google, and it is going to have a mix match, and it is going to give me a plethora of the results. Now, in the case of PubMed, which is a scientific repository of a lot of publication, that doesn't take up the sentences. So, for example, if I want to understand what are the genes which are responsible for autophagy in a breast cancer, that's just an example. So, in a PubMed, you can go and you can just give your sentence like autophagy genes plus sign, and then you can refer to breast cancer. So it is automatically going to search in through the papers where the breast cancer is also involved and your genes which are responsible for the autophagy is there. So it is going to give you a much more, a good collection of paper as compared to a Google. Now, Google is something which is going to give wherever, it is going to work on the deep net, and there are so many different fundamentals. But I feel that if you're going to go for a scientifically, then PubMed and everything are going to be a better resources for the online thing. And definitely there are so many different tools and everything are available. Where you talk about bioinformatic resources, you talk about, so there are so many different, you can go to authentic, website, institute website where they have, they have licensed a particular version. You can go to that particular website and learn something. So these are the various online technologies that we learn. Offline, I would prefer, again, now, for example, where we go, the library is the best resource. Okay, the library being the storehouse of all the information. So when you go to that, you have the books and all, definitely where you can get the basic knowledge, right? The basic knowledge, which is definitely important for a research methodology. And you have the different papers or the journals that come up, the hard copies of the journals that come up. Again, you go through, those journals, those research articles. Thereby also you can get a lot of information. So again, offline, I always prefer my library, my office library, or whenever I was a student, my college library. And online, we are again relying on a PubMed, Google, and these are the resources where I generally go for researching a particular subject.
Wow, I mean, that has been quite an informatory interaction, I guess. So from your teaching experience, from your professional experience, and from your personal experience, so we would like to know what are the advices you want to give, or what are the insights or that you have come across that will be helpful to the students.
Yeah. Now, again, so these are the words which, we have been also talking about, and definitely all the students who are in the first year of the PhD, or, who are starting with the research career, they would be hearing this. But again, I stick to these words, and they are definitely important, which I also pass on to my students as well, that stay focused and determined. Okay, now these are definitely, because there are so many things, because in a tenure of 5 years when we do a PhD, or let's talk about a professor where he or she is just starting up the research and everything. So we need to get focused, because there will be a new article coming up, there will be a new information coming up, and you would be, because the entire world would be running after that, you would be so excited. But depending upon the resources, depending upon your expertise, you need to take a you need to take a call that on which things you should work upon. Now, in the similar line, the motivation. So motivation again, because there are research is not very easy, right? I won't say that it's just icing on the cake and it's gonna be very simple. Definitely not. So definitely the staying motivated, having a very fantastic group of people around you. With you can share your your limitations, so you can share why your experiments has not worked upon, or anything related to research. Now these guys are going to give you some insights. It's always better to go for a collaboration. I always say to my students also that you have to work in a collaboration, you have to work in a group, because we cannot exist just by I know everything, I'm going to do everything. That's not going to happen. So if you are in a group, or you are working in a collaboration, you take the expertise from a different people and you try to implement everything, and then the results are going to be fantastic. So I feel that the collaboration is a word which everyone should go for it. Now, there may be a situation where people are totally depressed about not getting the results, but this is also the time to understand that where exactly we are going wrong. And the moment, we are going to troubleshoot that, bingo, I think, definitely the person is going to hit the jackpot. Understand that it's going to take some time, but again, it's important. So while the, success, it depends upon the research and publication, I feel that the ethics and the integrity should never be compromised. Okay. Now, whenever we talk about the research methodology, this plagiarism word, I hope many of the people
Yes.
are going to come across this. So the plagiarism should not be. Now, plagiarism is something like you are taking somebody else's content, you're giving their name, or you are doing some manipulation with the results of figures. That should not be happening. So I said that the ethics and the integrity should never be compromised. Your whatever results. So many times, for example, my project students are there. Because it's just a 6 months project for your project, I say to them, see, even if you have got some negative results for a span of 6 months period, because 6 months is very less, you should be able to show that very confidently, but you should be having a proper reason behind that.
Yeah.
Why it has not worked, but that should be your authentic result. Now, since if you are going to get some time after 6 months, definitely you will be able to troubleshoot that, you would be able to work upon that. So I see that whatever results you're going to get, make sure that you have got an excellent pair of hands that is not going to get any error in the experiment. And then biologically what is happening, then we will discuss and we will try to sort it out, like how it is going to happen. So I understand that there is nothing more satisfying than seeing your paper published and visible to the outside world. But I always feel that hard work always pays off and delivers high quality and enduring and useful progress in the human knowledge if the result is performed in a much more consistent manner. That's my personal opinion.
True. I mean, I agree. I really like the aspect of collaboration when you were talking, because it's a very underrated, I think, something which is considered in personal or professional or educational life. But collaboration is one of the best thing that delivers really good results. So
yes, perfectly. Now, for example, when this pandemic has hit and we were not able to go to our research laboratories and everything. So what we thought that let's take the help from our computational friends who are an expert in that. We can give them to, we can assign a biological problem. We can think about that, and then the computational people would be able to, help on that. So again, it's a kind of a collaboration. So which is going to give a fruitful result, because I feel that science is just not like a biologist or a computational person is. We need help from each and every one. So if it is going to be a perfect amalgamation of all the expertise, then definitely it would be a good piece of work.
Yeah, well said, actually.
So, yeah.
So that's about it, guys, for today. And we are so thankful to Dr. Jyoti for joining us here today. And Dr. Jyoti, thank you so much for today's session. And I'm sure not only me, but all our entire audience also and listeners, they also enjoyed listening to you. And we did learn something very interesting today. So once again, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Now, whenever there's a moment that I have to do something for the students, or any personal experience that I can share of, I would happy to do that. And thank you so much again for inviting me on this particular platform and share some of my views. Thank you so much to the organizers of Brain Aura. Have a good day.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Take care. Thank you.